How to create an approved supplier program from scratch. As we saw last week, an approved supplier program aims to ensure that all the food, ingredients, raw materials, and services you buy in your food business are safe and suitable for your products, consumers, and customers. An approved supplier program is a set of policies, procedures, and records, usually encompassing risk assessments. If you don't already have an approved supplier program, these 3 steps will help you get started. But just a warning, the steps are simple, but that doesn't mean the process is easy. It takes time and effort to build a robust program. If you're short of time or resources, you might want to just start with just your most important incoming materials first up, and then add less important materials later. Step 1, understand the stuff you buy. Start by making a list of everything that you purchase that is related to the food you make or sell. Your list should include ingredients, products, packaging materials. It should also include any service providers that work with, in or around the food, such as contract manufacturers, cleaners, and pest contractors. For each material or service provider, write down the requirements it needs to meet to allow your business to make or sell food that is safe and of the desired quality. In large food companies, this description takes the form of a purchasing specification. The list of requirements should be based on hazards and risks to food safety, including allergens, plus food quality, food authenticity, and business continuity risks. And by business continuity, I mean what happens if you can't get this material. Address the food safety risks first. This should be done by performing a food safety risk assessment on the materials. Include the food safety hazards that might arise from food fraud as well. I've included a risk assessment tutorial resource link in the email. Example of requirements for ready-to-eat single-serve cheesecake. So, for example, it must be free from pathogens, provided with accurate allergen information, delivered at a temperature of less than 4 degrees when received, that's in Celsius, and with at least 4 days left before the use-by date. Step 2, know who you want to buy it from. Now you've got a structured list of what you're buying, you can create a formal description of what you expect from suppliers. Criteria for selecting suppliers should include food safety attributes and can also include their past history of compliance with your specifications, customer service, and their business background, such as whether they have a history of food recalls or food hygiene problems or food fraud. And here's another example. So suppliers of ready-to-eat single-serve cheesecake must have a current third-party food safety certification, must use accredited food transport vehicles for deliveries, and must have passed a background check for past food safety issues. Why is it useful to formally list these criteria? Because if you want to source something from a new supplier, you will have a framework to decide if the new supplier is okay or not. For example, if a potential new cheesecake supplier doesn't have a food safety certification, you will know straight away they don't meet your criteria, and so you will not buy from them. Step 3, create your approved supplier list and monitoring process. Now that you know what requirements your suppliers need to meet to be considered approved, you can put this into a document with a list of your actual suppliers. For each of your current suppliers, make a note of which requirements they need to meet in order to be approved, and for each requirement, explicitly state whether or not they comply with it. If there is a requirement they don't comply with, you should write that down as well and explain why you think that is okay. We'd call this a risk assessment, or make a plan to stop purchasing from them. And here's an example. Your current cheesecake supplier does not use an accredited transport company, so they don't meet your approved supplier requirements. But this supplier always delivers their cheesecakes individually wrapped in a spotlessly clean portable cooler box and always at the proper temperature, so you are satisfied in this case that the risks are properly controlled. When you've done this exercise for all of your suppliers, you will have an approved supplier list. It's a good idea to include backup suppliers for important materials as well. Finally, include a note that explains how often you will review each supplier to check if they still comply with your requirements. In a formal food safety program, this must be done at least once a year. In short, an approved supplier program is a set of policies, procedures, and records, usually encompassing risk assessments. They help ensure that all the food ingredients, raw materials and services you buy in your food business are safe and suitable for your products, consumers, and customers. Start with what you buy, then consider who you buy it from. Write it all down and review suppliers regularly. And in the email, I've got a link to a video that shows you how to perform risk assessments on suppliers and products. And it's been produced by the friendly blokes at the International Food Safety and Quality Network.